What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, the museum of the forgotten fisticuff series. I'm going to continue my conversation with you concerning the complete history of boxing. We're going to talk about October 4th, 1940. Ray Robinson would make his professional debut with a second-round knockout of Joe Escoveria, 51 seconds in the second round. And Escoveria would be no more. Ray Robinson would fight 12 times that year. At the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, it would be the first time that a young black fighter would make his professional debut on an undercard of the magnitude of a Henry Armstrong and Fritzi Zivic contest. Ray just came out of the Golden Gloves, and he was well known in New York and Harlem. And believe it or not, 75% of members in the audience didn't come to see that championship fight. They came to see the professional debut of Smitty, the Harlem Nightstick, Sugar Ray Robinson. Between 1938 and 1940, Ray fought and won in a New York Metropolitan AAU Open Class Championship competition as a bantamweight. 1939, fought in the New York Featherweight Golden Gloves, Inner City and Golden Gloves Championship contests, the New York Daily News Golden Gloves, two separate events. He would take on Louis Spider Valentine. He would defeat Louis Spider Valentine in 1939 as a featherweight. He would move up to the lightweight division in 1940, and he would take on Andy Nanelli. He would defeat Andy Nanelli. There was nothing else for him to do but turn professional. Louis Spider Valentine and Ray Robinson were pretty good friends. Together they would work at the Harlem Opera House on 125th Street in Harlem, New York. They were ushers there. Many don't know that. My grandfather knew both these men, and he told me the stories that I'm telling you today. Louis Spider Valentine would lose the 1939 Featherweight Championship belt, Golden Gloves, if you will. Ray Robinson would defeat him. So Louis Spider Valentine got smart, and he said, if I want to take home a set of gloves, I'm not going to move up to the lightweight division as Ray Robinson did in 1940 to fight for the Golden Gloves. So he decided to stay as a featherweight, and he would win the Golden Gloves as a featherweight. And Ray would win the Golden Gloves as a lightweight in 1940. But then Ray would turn professional in Madison Square Garden, and his opponent was supposed to be Louis Spider Valentine. And Valentine would have second thoughts. There were excuses as to why he didn't fight Ray Robinson. Last minute replacement was an ex-fighter from the Bronx, New York. His name was Joe Escoveria. He's pretty much all they could find during that time. But Ray was originally supposed to fight Louis Spider Valentine. And Spider Valentine decided that match was not for him. 19-year-old Ray Robinson stood 5'11", weighed 133 to 135 pounds. He had a 72.5-inch reach. He began his professional debut October 4th, 1940. Joe Escoveria was a New York Puerto Rican dishwasher. Would also drive a taxi cab, reminding me of Carlos Ortiz in that way. He had a record of 4 wins, 17 losses, 4 draws, and 2 knockouts. And he'd be in the ring, famously known as the opponent for the great Ray Robinson. What a display Ray would put on that evening. The majority of the members of the audience came to see the great Ray Robinson turn professional. You don't know what that meant. Harlem, New York was very proud. The last time they were that proud was in 1929. Harry Smith, the Harlem Thunderbolt, was a middleweight who would win the colored middleweight championship title from Jack McVeigh, better known as one of the great fighters in Harlem. And those two men would mix it up at the Athletic Club in Harlem. Would be proud. Ray Robinson would come into fruition, and he would now represent Harlem, New York. As you know, Ray Robinson would have businesses on 124th Street. He would start out boxing in the Salem Custom Club with Harry Wiley Sr. And then he would start training in Grubb's Gym on 116th Street. Ray Robinson, professional debut, New York's Madison Square Garden. What a night. What a moment. And what was interesting, he would become the 5th black welterweight champion on the night of December 20th, 1946, when he took on Youngstown, Ohio's a very good fighter in Tommy Bell. He went down in the 6th round. The entire arena stood up in awe. Didn't say a word. Couldn't hear a rat put on cotton, as they say. But Ray would look at Harry Wiley Sr. Harry Wiley Sr. would give him what is called the Harlem look. Those in the old school know what that means. And Ray would get up and knew exactly what to do. Head was not 100% clear, but he understood how to tap dance because that was his local profession as a young man. And he would jab, stick and move. His head would swivel from side to side. He would turn his man, stab to the body, tie his man up, shove him off, and clear his head. And the mastery and beauty of this young, talented fighter was a thing to behold. What a great fighter young Robinson was. He would move on to do bigger and better things. Become a 5-time middleweight champion, 1-time welterweight champion. Take on the great Jake LaMotta 6 times. Kid Gavilan twice, and have many great moments. Gene Foreman and Carl Basilio, Carl Bobo Olsen, and many more. He would lose his first fight as a champion to Randy Turpin. And we'll talk about that more in 1951. Shout out to the great Ray Robinson. January 17th, 1941, 22,000 spectators, showed up to see Henry Armstrong, weighing 140 pounds, lose a second time to now world welterweight champion, Pittsburgh 146-pound fighter, Fritzi Zivic. Henry Armstrong would be stopped in 12 rounds, scheduled for 15, New York's Madison Square Garden. The referee was Arthur Donovan. He would make his final decision to end the fight. 31-year-old Henry Armstrong stood 5 foot 5.5 inches. He was 140 pounds and had a 67-inch reach. Had a record of 111 wins, 14 losses, 8 draws, and 76 knockouts. Fritzi Zivic was 27 years old. He stood 5 foot 10 inches, weighed 146 pounds, and had a 71-inch reach. He had a record of 103 wins, 24 losses, 6 draws, and 53 knockouts. What was interesting about Fritzi Zivic, he would lose 65 times. But he was in the ring with fighters such as Billy Conn. December 1936, he would lose 2 out of 3 bouts with Charlie Burley. August 1940, Zivic would defeat Sammy Ingot, would crack Lou Amber's jaw. 3rd round, he would take on Al Bummy Davis and many great fighters of his time. I believe that prepared him for the night of October 4th, 1940, and 1941 as well, to defeat a legendary welterweight champion, Henry Armstrong. And what was interesting about Armstrong, he was going for his 20th welterweight championship title defense. He would come up short. but he would fight 22 welterweight championship contests, a record to this day, and he came up from featherweight in order to do so. A remarkable fighter was Henry Armstrong, and Fritzi Zivic understood his way around the ring as well. But when you look at Henry Armstrong, Joe Louis, and Ray Robinson, and Ike Williams, Bo Jack, Bob Montgomery, Willie Joyce, those fighters in the 1930s and 40s gave you a dose of the medicine that boxers took to have the character in order to face one another during that time. Shout out to Henry Armstrong. What a remarkable fighter this man was. Friday night, March 21st, 1941. Joe Louis has lost the the heavyweight championship against Abe Simon. And Joe Louis was a remarkable fighter. Now, he would defeat Abe Simon 1 minute and 20 seconds of the 13th round in Detroit, Michigan. This fight was the last heavyweight championship bout to be scheduled for 20 rounds. They fought at the Olympia Stadium in Detroit, Michigan. The referee was Sam Hennessy. He scored it 9-2 up until that point. It was Joe's 15th title defense. 18,908 spectators will witness this bout. They paid collectively $56,605.10. It was promoted by Mike Jacobs. Abe Simon was born May 30th, 1914 in Richmond Hill, New York. He died October 24th, 1969. He was 56 years of age at the time of his death, and he would lay to rest Bayside, Queens. He'd be in the ring with Turkey Thompson and Lem Franklin, Buddy Bear, and young Stanley Ketchum. Joe Louis was 26 years old. He stood 6 foot 1.5 inches, weighed 202 pounds, and had a 76-inch reach. At this point of his career, he had a record of 46 wins, 1 loss, and 39 knockouts. Abe Simon was 27 years old. He stood 6 foot 4 inches, weighed 254 pounds, and had an 82-inch reach. Had a record of 34 wins, 7 losses, and 23 knockouts. Now, obviously, some of those wins of Abe Simon had the mob's fingerprints written all over it. But that was boxing at the time. Joe Louis would knock out Abe Simon March 21st, 1941. And what a match that would be. Friday, March 27th, 1942, Joe Louis and Abe Simon will fight once again in New York's Madison Square Garden. Louis was his 21st title defense. He was 27 years old. He stood 6 foot 1.5 inches, weighed 207 pounds, with a 76-inch reach. At this point, he had a record of 52 wins, 1 loss, 44 knockouts, and he was a 15-1 betting favorite. Abe Simon was 28 years old. He stood 6 foot 4 inches, weighed 255 pounds, and had an 82-inch reach. He had a record of 36 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw, and 25 knockouts. The referee was Eddie Joseph, and he stopped the contest 16 seconds of the 6th round, scheduled for 15. 18,220 spectators paid $132,420 to see this contest. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. The contributions were made by Madison Square Garden. $25,131.85. Abe Simon put on $3,012.17. You gotta love boxing. We'll pick up this conversation in our next video. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Thanks for listening. Be well. Peace.